All right, welcome to Lab 2 of the AZ-204 course. We're going to take a look at Azure functions. So we're here in our Windows environment with already logged into Azure. And our first real task is to create a storage account. So let's do that. We're going to use our resource group that's already pre-provided. We're going to name it function storage with some numbers. I'm going to have it in East US, that's okay. The performance is standard, and then we're just going to change the redundancy to be local because we don't need anything else. Just create this one. All right, that succeeded. So let's go over and get the connection string again for this one. It's here under access keys, and I always use the one for the first key. I'm going to paste it over into a new text file over in Visual Studio Code. There we go. All right, so then let's create our function app. So here we have function app. Let's get rid of that and then create. So the first thing that we need to select here is the hosting option. So basically the way that we want to pay for this. Please look at the documentation with regards to the limitations and possibilities. We're going to use the consumption hosting option for this particular lab. We're going to use our resource group, and we're going to call our function name function logic with numbers. We want to have a .NET runtime stack, and the specific option version is 8 with the isolated worker model. The region is going to be East US, and then the operating system is going to be Linux. Okay. And let's go on to storage. Storage account is going to be used. It's going to be our storage account that we just created. And we don't need to look at any of the other options. We can just create the rest on the default options. So while that is deploying, we can already go to our code environment. And then we want to go to a terminal. And then we want to go into the all files directory, which has the lab content downloaded from GitHub, and there Labs-204, starter, and the func directory. This should be currently empty, as it is. So let's create a new function using Azure Functions core tools. So what we need to say here is function initialize. And we need to define the worker runtime. For us, it's going to be .NET isolated, like we did in the function service. The target framework is going to be .NET 8, as we defined earlier. And we're just going to do a force here in case something doesn't work otherwise. I need to copy this first and then close it, and then open the folder. So you can see the func command created all kinds of content in here. And kind of, when we're talking about these kinds of application settings in .NET or with kind of Microsoft in general, one of the ways to set up these environment variables is using this file called local settings.json. So there happens to be a value here for Azure Web Jobs storage, which has the value of use development storage equals true. So instead of that, what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with the key or the URL that we got previously from our storage environment. I'm just going to save that. And now we should be able to build this. I'm going to create a terminal here. It's going to go into the right directory automatically. Now I can just build this. All right, so our project is done. So next up, let's start to add some functionality. So let's add a new function, func new. And we're going to use a template called HTTP trigger because we want our function to be triggered by an HTTP incoming HTTP request. And we're going to name this one echo. All right, you see it has been created properly. Let's just kind of minimize this window for a second and see what it has created. We're just going to, this is just the basic stub for Azure functions. So we're going to remove that, and then we're given some code in the instructions to use instead. So you basically, if you take a look at this, what happens is that we're reading in the body of the request over here, and then we're writing that back to the response, like an echo function would do, returning back what it got from it. So a very simple function just for us to maybe test how this whole thing works. So let's save that, and then let's make this bigger again. And let's run this project. All right, so now it's running here. We can test it using curl. So curl in the command prompt, and we sent it a 3, and it gave us back a 3 as well. Now if we send it a 5, it returns back a 5. And of course, we can also send other stuff than just numbers, strings, like for example, hello. And then that will work, or similarly a JSON document. That would come back as well, like that. Okay, so we've deployed our first function, or we've created our first function, and we're currently running it locally in the development environment, not in the cloud at all. All right, and then let's create a new function. Function new, and this time the template that we want to use is called timer trigger. So this function is going to be recurrent or called recurringly based on the timer. I'll call it recurring. All right. Let's go and take a look at the generated code. So this is what it looks like. So first of all, when this needs to run is given here in the run method, right? So using a timer trigger construct, and this of course is a cron compatible line. Okay, so instead of having this run every 5 minutes, let's have it run every 1 minute. And that's the only change we're going to make. All right, so let's run the function app locally. All right, so it's got two functions, echo and recurring. And now we're looking at the recurring one being called every minute. All right, and now we can see that it has been running once per minute. So we're going to close this up. And finally, let's add a function that's going to be using our blob storage. So first, let's go to find our storage account. There we go. And then let's create a container. Remember, we need that for blob storage. And you can see that the functions app that we've created has already, created something over here. We're going to add one of our own. We're going to call it content. And then into content, let's upload a file. And the file we're going to upload is going to be under C, all files, Lab2, starter, and settings.json. Okay, upload. All right, back to code. And let's create another one with the HTTP trigger. And let's call it get setting info. I guess that you already can see what we're trying to do here. Oops, that didn't go too well. Let's try again. Func new template HTTP trigger and name get setting info, like this. And now in this function, what we're going to do is we're going to access storage, our storage container. And for that, we're going to use a specific extension in .NET that is called a worker extension, right? So we're going to add a package, Microsoft Azure Functions Worker Extensions Storage. So stuff happens. And now that got installed. And now if you go to our code, which is just a generic code. Basically, we need this part to be replaced. And we're going to replace it with this. And now everything went wrong, right? Oops. So we need this one back. So function get setting info, response data, run, HTTP trigger get or post. And then the input here, you can see blob input content / settings.json. So this is referring to the file that we just uploaded. And you can see the connection is just a name, Azure Web Jobs Storage. But that's the thing that we set up in the local settings already previously. Okay. And then what we're going to do, well, we're going to just write that out as a return value. All right. So save this one. And then let's start our function. All right, I think we got everything. Yeah, everything. All three are running. So here you can see the get setting info URL. And again, what we're going to do here is we're going to try this out using the command line. We have curl over here. Then we're just going to get the get setting info endpoint. There's nothing else in here, and it should return the contents of that JSON file, which happens to be this one. Okay, so now this all is local, right? Everything is happening on this Windows machine, except for us actually going and fetching that file from cloud storage. Of course, we want this stuff to run in the cloud instead. So let's kill our running environment. And then let's just quickly log into Azure. There we go. And now we're logged in. And now basically when we have our function ready working here locally, to deploy it, what we can do is just call func Azure function app publish. And now we need to get the function app name that we created earlier. So let's just kind of quickly go back here. And it was this one, func logic. So let's paste that into here. All right, and then say again, .NET version was 8.0. Built similarly as otherwise, but now it's going to publish the or package the content and then upload it and then deploy it into our function logic function app. Perfect. So it seems to be there. Let's go and see, right? Here we go. Echo, get setting info, and recurring all are working. Let's take a look at the get setting info function. So this is what the function looks like. Now we have the option to run a test from here. And then our function was for gets, and we don't really need anything else. Let's just run this. It should be giving us back the same JSON as before, and it does, as you can see. This is the same thing as before. So it seems to be working in the cloud as well. This is the end of the lab. Thanks a lot for listening to me. Remember to delete your resource group if you're running this in your own environment. Otherwise, see you in the next lab. Till then.